Hey, family, welcome to another episode of Naomi Spot. I am your host, Natasha Naomi Dukes. Today, we are continuing our conversation on sexual abuse and its impact on its victims. Do me a favor, family, call your friends, tell them to meet us at the spot. When we were last with you, LaQuisha, I think you were the last person speaking. So I want to continue with us with that. Go ahead, please.
And a lot of survivors also deal with the idea that it's their fault. I specifically thought that it was my fault. So if I was never there, if I didn't wear what I wore, if I
Yeah.
uh, changed something or did something different, that this would not happen to me. And I battled with that for so many years that I could not engage and talk to people about it. And then in which the way that my story was delivered to other individuals and the impact that that had from my grandmother to the people on campus and the
Mhm.
whispers about whether it happened
Yeah.
or did not happen did nothing but muzzle me even further. And it
Yeah.
made me feel that if I did share, that something else would happen to me, or that I would be harmed more, or that, people would not believe me or support me. And it took me many, many years of therapy and support to be able to recognize that it wasn't my fault and that my voice did have power and that I was valued in the way that I am.
Yes. And you know what? And I really appreciate you sharing all of that with our viewers so that people can understand, especially for uh, parents as well who are watching and their kids tried to tell them. I thank you so much for doing that. But also, I thought it was interesting that you mentioned that the average age of a survivor who actually starts to speak about it is about age 52, because I've
Yes, for
come
childhood, those who've experienced childhood sexual abuse.
childhood sexual abuse, because I have spoken to quite a few women in their 60s, and you're so correct on that, because now they are trying to seek justice. The person who harmed them is now gone from the earth, so now they feel like, okay, I can talk about it. Some of them are still scared, still living in fear that someone may hurt them or try to do something to, their family. And so there was a lot. There was a lot involved with this. And I know WAR offers a lot of services to support people who speak out, but also you guys, I'm trying to think, you also provide like a sort of like a buddy or like a companion to go with them to court if they need.
Yeah, so we do court accompaniment in both child and adult court, where someone will have an advocate present in the courtroom with them to support them through the process, let them know where to sit, what's going to happen, if they need a glass of water, if they need physical comfort, and that
Yeah.
way that we can make sure that they have what they need. That way they can begin to testify, and someone that actually can also advocate for what they may need in that space as well.
Okay.
We
And
also
that's
do medical accompaniment as well. So if someone
okay.
needs to go get a rape kit done, we have advocates who are down at PSARC, which is Philadelphia Sexual Response Center, that they can go down there and have an advocate there with them. And that is where you can get a rape kit done, a forensic exam, but also SVU is right next door and you can have someone to support you through the process.
Yeah. So it's wonderful to know that someone is providing the resource to accompany people, especially for people who cannot go and share with their family. They do not have the protection or the encouragement of family. So that's such a good service that you all offer. Can you give us your website, LaQuisha? Did I pronounce it correct this time? Because I wrote it down.
No,
LaQuisha.
it's LaQuisha.
LaQuisha.
The WAR's website is, excuse me, WOAR.org, www.woar.org. And my website, it's under construction right now, but I'll give it to you as well. It's a survivorsvoice.org. And
Okay.
anyone can reach me on Instagram at I am IAM underscore the voice.
LaQuisha, we thank you so much. And I just want to say, I am so proud to see, after everything that you have been through, all that I was reading about you. I don't know how many times you probably have heard this, even from your family. I'm proud of you just to see the outcome. Sometimes we have a rough beginning, but that doesn't mean that that beginning is your end. And I do believe that God is the author of our future. Doesn't matter what people say about us. It doesn't matter sometimes what we say about ourselves, but he's the finisher of our fate. And I just see just wonderful things that he's done with you. You are definitely a living witness for me if I ever doubt it. Thank you so much, LaQuisha. Would you mind sticking around for a few minutes? We need to talk
Yes.
to Melany for a few minutes for Northwestern Services, Victim Services, excuse me, and we'll come right back to you, okay? Thank you very much for your patience. So, Melany, oh my gosh, where to start with you? Melany Nelson, this is such a beautiful spirit here, guys. Melany is the executive director of Northwestern Victim Services. Um, she also, Northwestern Victim Services, I want to make sure that I have the correct office. You guys are located in Germantown?
We're located in Germantown. It's Northwest Victim Services.
Northwest Victim Services. Thank you very much for that correction. Appreciate it. Melany, could you tell us some of the services that you all offer, and just kind of go through the process of when someone has been victimized and they give you a call? What is the process they go through? Walk us through that, please.
So, Northwest Victim Services is actually the very first community based agency created and dedicated to helping victims and witnesses of crime in the city of Philadelphia. It went so well, 6 other agencies were born, and we all are off of the police districts in the city of Philly. So
Mhm.
Northwest Victim Services works with the 5th, 14th, 35th, and 39th police districts. All of our services are free. So we receive reports of all of the crimes that occur the day before, and we reach out to those victims. Sexual assault victims are very different. We work very closely with Temple and Einstein Hospital, but we also have a great relationship with PSAR as well. So we contact the victims to let them know that we can help with therapy. We can help filing a claim through victims' compensation. With that, we're helping with unpaid medical bills, lost time from work, funeral reimbursement, relocation services, and hearing the stories of the 2 young ladies today. The one young lady who was actually in college and did not want to share exactly what happened to her. So if we were to contact her, we would let her know about the relocation services that were available, of course, therapy. And that piece of people saying something. We have people who do not want to maneuver the criminal justice center because of fear. There
Yes.
are people who attend court. We don't know whether their family members or their friends are attending court. And that thing about being a snitch is real.
Hmm.
And we see that every day, all day. So we want to make sure that people are safe.
Yes.
But we have so many services, and they're all unique and they're tailored to those who are affected by crime, whatever that situation is. And I'm a firm believer working 9 to 5 does not impress me.
Mhm.
Working during the evening impresses me. Working holidays impresses me. So that's what we do. We're boots on the ground, and I try to be available anytime that my services are needed. It's not a job for me, it's a passion. And again, I'm helping those who mainly look like me and
Yeah.
who can't access resources and who do not know people in high places.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you for that. That is why it was so important for me to get you on the show today. I love your spirit. I love your passion for what you do. Let me just ask you, because I was kind of researching some of the assistance, the financial assistance to victims. And I did see, and let me know if this is still up to date, because it looked like on VOCA, the Victims of Crime Act, that they offer up to $35,000 in assistance. Is that still current today?
Let me break that down for you. That does not mean a victim will receive
Mm-hmm.
$35,000. Let's be clear about that. So it's different sections for that.
Okay.
So if we do the relocation through victims' compensation, they can be reimbursed for up to $1,000. But there are other relocation services available for victims and survivors of homicide.
Okay.
It's 6,500 reimbursement for those seeking for funeral expenses. That means for that one homicide victim, if mom pays $5,000 and dad pays $5,000 separately to be reimbursed for the funeral expenses, it's 65,000 for the funeral reimbursement piece.
Okay.
The medical piece can be up to 35,000, but there's different tiers, and then there's therapy, and then there's loss of support, there's child care expenses, but it's tiered and it's
Okay.
reimbursable.
Right. Got you. Okay. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. I didn't want everybody to rush and think that they could get
Exactly.
$35,000 when seeing that. But and that those funds, they actually will cover in some situations the medical expenses, health care, food, receiving low wages if they have to come out of work. Is that correct?
So for if someone is not able to work, and we're going to go back to the lovely, is it LaQuisha?
LaQuisha.
LaQuisha, sorry, LaQuisha. Well, the viewers will get your name right. We will not. But okay. So for this lovely young lady, say she was working while she was in college,
Mhm.
and because of the mental aspect of what she went through, she can file a claim for lost wages.
Okay.
And someone, if there's a sexual assault victim who was actually physically injured and they cannot go to work, we can file a claim for them, and they can be reimbursed for up to 15,000 for lost wages. Taxes have to be taken out. We need to see pay stubs, and we send this to the state through the victims compensation program. But yes, there is loss of wages for those who are affected by crime, and that could be up to 15,000. It doesn't mean they'll get a $15,000 check right then and there. So say they get 500 this week, 500 this week, but they will need a doctor's note to indicate that they cannot work, or even for therapy for the mental aspects.
I have a question.
And I just wanted to,
Oh,
sorry.
no, go ahead, LaQuisha. That's
I just wanted to add, because we're talking about medical expenses, if someone wants to get a forensic exam done, that is no cost to that individual to get a forensic exam done, to collect evidence, and to obtain care if you have sexual assault. And the best time to do that is 72 hours after the specific assault.
Okay.
And children can get an exam done as well as adults.
Okay. And both of your organizations can help out with applying, like during the VCAP application. Is that correct? Because I did see that WOAR as well.
Yes, we do support people with VCAP as well.
Okay. That is excellent information to know.
But just wanted people to know that if you need a forensic exam, that is free.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Aziza, you said you had a question?
Well, it is in reference to it just triggered something of not for me personally, but as far as the statistics, right? So 1 in 4 girls experience sexual violence before they turn 18, and it's 1 in 6 boys.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing is that for a survivor to overcome their any PTSD associated with that abuse, it can cost between 300,000 and $1 million. So, and I think it's more. I think it's considerably more, because when you think about these programs, they're great. What the Victim of Crimes Compensation Board does, it helps. It one holds abusers accountable, because they're the ones that's paying into it only when they are convicted. That's the only thing. Only when they are convicted, they're paying into it. However, I am concerned that this number that a lot of victims, let's say Cassie and P. Diddy, are being guilted for requesting, when it talks about being able to recover the abuse that they suffered. Um, it's concerning to me that these numbers are so low. And the fact is, when it comes to the US federally, they put more money towards helping pets and animals than they
Yeah.
do protecting women and children. Like the budget line is considerably more for animals than it is for women and children, which is why I speak on the financial impacts a lot because it's not just, oh, well, I got raped and now I can't make it to work for the week, or I can't. It's literally, I got raped and it's going to affect every single day for the rest of my life, how
Yes.
I get up to go to work,
Hmm.
how I show up when I go to work, and how I value myself. And even requesting what I deserve for the work that I am offering. So I just wanted to contribute that. And LaQuisha, thank you so much for the work that you do and your bravery and sharing your story and putting what happened to you into action.
Thank you, and
And can I speak?
you as well. And just because I'm speaking now, I just wanted to reiterate what she said. According to the CDC, it's $39 billion over a survivor's lifetime
Okay.
is the total economic cost.
Wow.
And can I speak on that? And
That's
I
on
think
the
that's a
system,
shame.
right? That's on the system.
That's actually greater than 39 billion. But go
Okay.
ahead, Melanie.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so my thing is this: we're a small nonprofit, but people will tell you, I drop everything and I try to move a mountain for those affected by crime. And my thing is this: I'm not short term. Everybody that I speak to, I let them know I will be in your life for as long as you will allow me to be. So
Hmm.
that means on Christmas, I'm huddled up on my couch and I'm just sending a message to say, you are in my thoughts and you are in my prayers. Would you like to talk for a minute? No, I'm not a licensed therapist or a psychologist, but I do understand the power of just extending an ear. That
Yeah,
means that I have
absolutely.
therapists. I'm begging for money 24 hours a day, trying to get money, but a small little Northwest Victim Services, see, we can't get money all the time. And most of the money that I'm asking for is therapy. It's for therapy because you can't put a time frame on when I'm going to hurt or when this might come out. And I tell people that all the time. Something could happen. Somebody could have been eating a pizza when something happened, or you were in a pizza shop when something happened. So when you smell pizza, then it triggers something. So we're always constantly trying to find funding because we understand short-term resources is not the answer. It's long-term resources that we need for all of those affected by crime.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely, Melanie. And I've seen Melanie in action. We work closely together. I've seen her. We have done press conferences side by side, advocating for funding for these efforts because we understand the impact that it has on individuals and their lives.
Yes.
And we believe that people need the help and support at whatever cost it may be.
Absolutely. And I thank you guys for being out on the front line because just the information that you guys come with, that's why I desperately wanted to put the show together. You have no idea how much I was kind of fought on having the show. But bringing this information, you guys have a wealth of information to offer because the average person out here who's looking online, who's been through what you've been through, they have no idea where to start. They have no idea, who to turn to. And I thank you guys so much for showing up today and just sharing all of the knowledge that you have gained. And Melanie, I know that being there for people whenever they are in need, that is a God-given gift. Not everyone will do that. Some people work that 9 to 5, and when they hit 5, they out the door. They might even be out before 5, and phones off. So we thank you very much for making yourself available to people that they can reach out to you and that they can call you. For all of you, because we are short, very short on time. We're over time. But I just
I'm
want
sure.
I just wanted to, before we exit this place, I just want to ask each one of you if there is one piece of advice after everything that you have been through and everything that you have learned, all the knowledge you have now gained, if there is one piece of advice that you could give to a victim of sexual abuse or even their family, what would it be? And I'm just going to kind of go in order. Melanie, you're up at the top for me. So I'm just going to start with you.
what I will say is this for the viewers who are watching.
This is for the
It is
viewers
not
who are
always
watching.
it is not always a stranger who may sexually abuse your child or your family member. We always say stranger danger, but more times than not, it may be a family member. So please pay attention.
Yes. LaQuisha.
Keisha,
I'm
I will
sorry.
say, I will say that that support is a lifeline, and that you can turn pain into purpose, and even if you don't want it to be purpose, that it gets greater later. That there is relief and light at the end of the tunnel, and that you are not alone.
Yes, that is so important. So important to know. Thank you for that. Aziza.
Um, the biggest message I think for survivors and for victims, and honestly for everyone, keep going. Keep going. Don't give up. Don't give up. It is difficult. Healing is challenging, just like a wound. It hurts while it's healing. Emotional and psychological pain, it hurts while it's healing. So don't give up and keep going and utilize all of the resources that you have. All of these lovely ladies here are resources. I'm a resources. Precious Little Ladies, we offer free therapy through our partnership with BetterHelp. We have events. We are in New Jersey. I feel that I need to clarify that. We're in New Jersey since most of everyone is in Philadelphia. We are in New Jersey.
Mhm.
And as long as you have a toolbox to pull on, to pull out. Yes, you're going to be triggered. Yes, you're going to regress. Yes, you're going to have bad nightmares and bad days, but it gets better if you use your tools and you apply them and you do a lot of introspection and forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for the decisions that you had to make in survival mode, because I know a lot of guilt and shame comes with being a victim. And a lot of times we struggle with just questioning, well, we could have done this and we could have screamed louder and we could have, and all of those things. You have to forgive yourself for the choices that you made while you were trying to survive.
Yes. Thank you so much. Well put. Miss Shekhina.
Yeah, I want to say first, I appreciate everybody sharing their story and giving a wealth of information to help individuals out there who are currently recovering and surviving sexual abuse. As a therapist, one of the things I learned by doing trauma therapy is that is a difference between avoidance and being fearful. Okay, so I encourage you guys out there is that please do not allow the fear keep you in avoidance. A lot of times when we go to share our stories because of the symptoms can be hyping up so much, it can cause that avoiding because we think if we don't talk about it, the pain will go away. No, that is avoidance. Okay. So it's pressing through that fear with a therapist to get that gradual exposure, telling your story little by little, working through those symptoms, reducing those symptoms down as you're working with someone to kind of help you come up closer where you can get more empowered and not to avoid your story, but empower through it. And the last thing I would say, do not allow your story to define you, but allow it to empower you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies. I really do appreciate all that you guys have offered today, all that you have rendered to our listening audience, to our viewer audience. Um, this topic has really, there's been so many things going through my mind as each of you were talking. And do not get mad at me, but I do have to say this. I'm so sorry, but I have to speak to the moms. Now I'm a mom, and when your children are coming to you, parents, please listen. Listen to them. If they cannot talk to you, who else can they talk to? If they cannot get your support, who else is going to support them? Although there are are services out here that's provided to them, there is nothing like having a parent in your corner. Please listen to your children. Don't be so quick to judge them. Maybe they have lied in the past. Maybe they often do tell little lies. So it caused you, like the old story. What was that old story? The boy that cried wolf. He used to tell you that story when you was a kid. Maybe they did tell some stories, but when it comes down to sexual abuse, when we hear that, something in our spirit should just rise up, and we need to become proactive. We need to become vigilant. We need to listen to them and hear them. I just cannot say that enough. And I just want to say also that sometimes people are being molested or sexually abused by people that they know, people in the family, and some of us know that this is happening and we won't do anything about it. Maybe that man that's in the house that's doing this is paying all the bills and you have no other way to provide for yourself. So you allow or you excuse certain little things that you see him doing, patting your little girl's butt or different little things. Like there are many signs. And a lot of us will turn the blind eye. I beg of you, do not turn the blind eye. Protect the babies, protect their future. So let's take a moment and go back to Shekhina. Shekhina, after all of the stories that you have heard today, and each situation is definitely unique.
Mm-hmm.
How would you, as a therapist, go about telling these women how, or I don't want to say telling, but maybe guiding them into a healing process?
Yeah, of course. Well, first thing I want to say is healing may look different. Healing may look different to different people, depending on the severity of the trauma that individuals go through. Okay. And listening to these women's story, it seemed like the healing process has a lot of similarities, but they had things uniquely to their journey that went to recovery. So as a therapist, it's helping the individual figure out what it's going to take for them to get to recovery, because everybody's journey is different. One of the mistakes that we make in this profession, or just in general as a population, we think people is just supposed to just get over stuff. Okay, that happened when you were 5, that happened when you were 10, just get over it. No, trauma has a lifelong, long-lasting effect, depending on the severity it happens to an individual. People can recover in 2 months, or it can take them 2 years or even longer. Okay, so to tell somebody just to get over it is not fair to the victim.
Sure.
But there's a certain theory that I've been trained as a certified trauma therapist called trauma-informed cognitive behavior therapy.
Okay.
And I think that's one of the approach that has been scientific, evidence-based to really help individuals heal, because it has the trauma-informed part, but it has the cognitive behavior therapy part. Because trauma has a way of affecting us in 3 ways: the way we think, cognitively, our emotions, and our behaviors, which comes those physical reactions, such as those symptoms as heart racing, stomach hurting, headaches, things like that, anger, isolation.
So this is where you see people just lashing out and
Exactly. So with the trauma-informed CBT is you help the person with gradual disclosure to actually go through the trauma. Okay, tell their story, but you're telling their story in a way where they are remembering, but you helping them not relive it. Okay, so I can share my story, but I'm doing it in a way where I'm being empowered through it. So I'm not avoiding these emotions, but I'm working through these strong emotions that I can get on the other side of it. And then a lot of times with trauma, since it changes the way we see the world, it changes our reality. People have a different perception of how they deal with life because they've been traumatized. So now we have to go through a way of changing the cognitive distortions of someone's thoughts and help them think differently. Think more of a healing and empowering approach versus from a victim basis. And I'm blaming myself if I shouldn't have did that, or it was my fault this happened, or I will never find love, or every man is going to abuse me, or every woman is a cheater. So you go through these these intrusive thoughts that continue to torment you because of the trauma, but we work through that. And that's the cognitive part. And then behavioral part is reducing those symptoms. If my heart is racing every time I walk by Walmart because someone sexually assaulted me there, okay, let's have that gradual disclosure where you slowly reduce those symptoms and you breathe through it, or we go through some sensory coping skills where you can work through that. So the next time you walk by Walmart, you can remember what happened, but you won't have the same effects.
So let me ask you then, for someone in a situation such as Aziza, who, had children, that came about from her situation, how would you have someone start the process of healing where they have to look at those children every day and they're reminded of what happened to them?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we call a trauma reminder. Okay. And that's also what we call like acute trauma reminder, because it's something that I have to consistently see because I'm consistently living in the reminder of what happened to me for whatever reason. Okay. So a situation like that is helping the individual be able to separate, okay, what's happening here, separate the reality that the children are not what caused the abuse, but they are the result of the abuse. Okay. And then figure out ways that they can love unconditionally or accept the children, even though they came from the abusive situation. Okay. So, how can I define myself as a parent moving forward and loving and supporting these kids? But when I look at them, I just don't see the abuse. That is the same policy where we'll work through those strong emotions that when you see the children, what are you seeing? Now we need to change this perception and we need to think about the children in a different way. Okay. They are not a product of the abuse. Okay. That just can't be the ruminating thought. Okay. I was abused. I hate these kids. I was abused. I hate. No, these children were unfortunately wrapped up in the situation from the abuse, but they are not the cause of it.
Okay.
So it's just changing the perception to help people see things differently and take off a trauma lens where they can actually see what's happening, where they're just not seeing individuals or people, places, as things based on that trauma.
Okay.
Yeah. I
So
hope I made sense.
yeah. So and she also mentioned while at the trial, at her father's trial, just feeling, as she was going in, she started getting concerned with how she looked. Did she look okay? Those kind of things. Just I just have the one thought of because I understand the situation. Why would a person start to think that? Why would they even care?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
that makes sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And, because I wasn't there to really kind of witness a lot of the physical reactions that she might have been dealing with at the moment, or symptoms that might have been coming from that. But one of the terms come to mind is dissociated. Okay. A lot of times when especially women have been sexually abused, raped, sexually assaulted, over a number of periods, a period of length of time, they get used to dissociating themselves from the abuse. So it's not, so I'm in this reality, but I'm not here. Okay. Physically, I'm here, but I put my emotions and my mind somewhere else, and I'm focusing on something else just to get through this abuse. Okay. So if she's in a court and seeing her dad is triggering her subconsciously, I'm going to focus on something else because I don't want to be reminded of what's happening. So I'm worried about what I'm looking like. I'm worrying about other things because I'm disassociating. I'm zoning out. I'm numbing myself to the fact of what's happening to the trauma.
Okay.
Yeah.
It seemed as though she was a bit maybe concerned, and I don't want to talk about her as if she's not here because she's here and she can hear us, but it seemed as if she was a bit concerned with, did she look right? It's almost a sense of still trying to find a sense of approval from them.
Yeah.
Even after all the years, all the abuse. Is that common?
Oh, yes. Yes. It's definitely common.
Yeah.
There's a thing where we can even have empathy for our abusers.
Okay.
We can see them in situations where they are dealing with the consequences of what they did to us, and still subconsciously, because of the manipulation, the gaslighting that we have
Mm-hmm.
went through for years, we can still, as the victim, have empathy for them
Yeah.
and
Okay.
feel bad that they're actually going through what they're going through,
Okay.
you know.
And that
Hmm.
I'm glad to hear that, because that helps me, and some as someone looking in, because I
Hmm.
shared a situation where I had someone in my family who was, molested multiple people in the family, and then
Hmm.
someone took his life. And some of those children who were now adults who he had abused, they were crying over him at the funeral. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, why are you crying? God has
Hmm.
has delivered you
Hmm.
from this
Hmm.
this evil that has
Hmm.
been plaguing you for years. So that makes sense to me. I thank you for explaining that. I tend to try to ask questions that I know people are curious about, not necessarily to be insensitive towards, my guest. But I thank you
Yeah.
for explaining that.
Yeah. And put it in another example is that there's a theory in psychology that's called classical condition, right? And the psychologist who created that, he used a dog. You probably heard the theory that the dogs, slobber when they see the food in the bell. Okay, a
Yeah.
lot of people identify with that. But the purpose of that study, it was to see how we get conditions to behave a certain way in certain situations. So when someone is being abused, and it's that power and control, and that individual have power over you and have control over you, just like a dog, the dog can get beaten, neglected, abused, starved, but that dog is so loyal to that owner as much
Yeah.
as possible.
Yeah.
That dog will still come crawling back. Okay. It
Yeah.
might whimper, it
Okay.
might cry, it might have a moment of distance, but it's used to that owner. It's that classical condition. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm getting something from this person, even if I'm getting abused, because I want some type of love, some type of something. So I'm going to take what I can get. And
Okay.
you think you have been conditioned to receive that from that person. So you don't know nothing else. And it
Okay.
becomes a false reality of what love is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I just want to talk to you because we are running short on time.
Okay.
Now
Hmm.
I know you, Shekhina, yourself. You've shared some of your experience, but you also wrote a book. Could you tell us a little bit about your book?
Yeah, so to kind of sum it up real quick, Childhood Dreams, Poetry from a Child's Mind is some of the poems that I actually saved from age 8 through my young adult life. I saved them. I've been writing poetry since I was 8 years old, and I kept a journal and I just saved them throughout the years. And I felt that the Lord laid it on my heart that you saved these poems for a reason, because that was my trauma story. I got a chance to write poetry through my traumatic situation of sexual abuse and so forth. So now, as I got older, the childhood dream part is thinking about that my dream that I'm living now today to help other people and do things that I enjoy to do. I dreamt that when I was a kid, but I couldn't really see that because I was going through the abuse. So now that I'm on the other side of it, looking at these poems, I'm like, wow, the Lord still had a plan for me, despite all the trauma that I went through, because now I can see these poems was actually prophecies that was coming forth in my life. So I
Mhm.
put the poems together, and then I put the story and I put the scripture.
Okay.
So you see the hurt, but you also see the recovery and you see the story behind it. So you get a threefold, creative process in one book.
Okay. And where
Yeah.
can our viewers get your book?
Yeah, so they can just go right on Amazon. Okay, so you can type in, and you go in Amazon and you type in childhood dreams, poetry from a child's mind. It'll come right up. You'll see my photo. Or also you can just Google me. I'm very Google. So you can just type in Shekhina, which is Shekhina,
Mhm. Let me put it up on
LPC,
the screen for you.
and I'll come up. So either way, you just type in my name, I'll pop right up. Yep.
Okay, that's
Hmm.
great. And lastly, real quick, I know that you
Hmm.
have a trauma support group. Can you tell us how they can reach you regarding your trauma support group?
Yes. Actually, I'll just put the phone number out there. So it's 267-225-7638. We meet every Sunday at 4 o'clock. And these are individual women who go through a faith-based integration process along with the trauma-informed CBT process to
Okay.
help them heal and recover over sexual abuse, no matter how long it was in their lives.
So, Shekhina, you wanted to share your story with us. Um, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to go silent, and you take the floor.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Um, you asked me earlier in the show, one of the reasons why I decided to become a therapist, and I shared, by working through my own traumatic experiences.
Mhm.
So, to give a brief overview of what my story looks like, I was adopted. I spent some time in foster care, and I got adopted around 8 and 9. My early childhood years, what I remember was okay. Holidays, ate pretty good, had friends, education, two-parent household. It seemed to go pretty good for an average kid.
Mhm.
But then things begin to change. Okay, so when I turned 11 years old, my adoptive father, sexually molested me. And what was really strange about that evening is that he was really going to penetrate me. And, as sharing my story now, I can really still remember the details. But the difference is now when I share the details of what happening, I'm remembering, but I'm not reliving. I'm not feeling any resentment or anger or bitterness or pain, because I really worked through a lot. And by the grace of God, I really healed and overcome that.
Okay.
But when I do think back, it does sometimes like that's really strange that a old man, he was old. Like my adopted parents adopted me when they were like in their 50s, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, because my adopted sister is like 10 years older than me. So like you are like an old man and I'm 11 years old and you really gonna penetrate me. Like, how is that even registering in your head? But at that time, I had enough guts to say, no, get off of me. He did get as far as touching my private areas, my vagina and my breast. He got that far. And when I pushed him off of me, he stopped. I ran in my room. He called me back. I went back and he gave me money.
Wow.
Money. And he said, well, I'm going to give you some money because don't tell mom because you'll get in trouble. So the money was kind of like hush.
Hush money to a
Yeah.
child. Yeah.
I'm like, that's just, so when I think back, I'm like, that is just so insane. It's just so sick, you know? And so anyway, I told my adopted mother and she came home and I told. And she was upset. She went in the bedroom. She yelled at him, screamed at him. Okay. But then the next day, we got up and had breakfast like nothing happened.
Okay.
That was just it. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, all right. All right. So it became my new normal. And what became my new normal is that I'm living with this pedophile. And whenever he gets drunk, he try to comes on to me. I have to fight him off. And this has been my new normal from the age 11 up until I think I moved out at 16 years old. I stayed with a couple people
Okay.
and then I moved back. But mostly throughout my early teenage years, my teenage years looked like me just fighting. It was physical. It wasn't so much sexual abuse anymore. It was just fighting because he fought me so bad that he couldn't get his way with me.
Okay.
So that's where the fights. Like he attempted to rape me, put my legs up in the air. He picked me up, flipped me around on the floor. One time he threw me over the banister on the porch. We were just when I say fought, we was fighting like I was fighting like a bully at school. Like we were fighting, fighting.
And what did your adopted mother say?
So she was really tricky. She was from South Carolina, where you stay with your husband regardless of what you don't, no matter what happens, you staying with your man. And she had moments where she intervened. She had moments where she stepped quiet. And it has been moments where he actually fought her, okay, where they got physical. And I would actually even intervene and try to protect her. The more he drank, the worse it got. And that alcohol was really a big influence on how he got sexual and violent. My adopted mother got to the point where she was like, well, since you can't, this is how it became the new normal. Since you can't, right, be alone with him, When you come home from school, you stay at a neighbor's house. Okay. So rather than really dealing with the issue that was happening, we're just kind of putting a band-aid on it. You'll just stay at a neighbor's house, and then when I come home from school, you can come home. Okay. So it just got to the point where I was just never alone with him, because if I was alone with him, he'll try to come on to me, and then we have to fight. You know, yeah.
Did she ever try to say, "Oh no, that's not what's happening"? Try to like deny or try to defend him in what he was doing?
Um, when I think back, that's really a good question. Okay, this is what I can say to that is there has been a time in where she decided to leave him. It was one time where she decided to leave him. And I forgot why, but I think it got so bad. Um, and I remember her coming to me and saying, "You are going to tell on him. You're going to say how he tried to rape you. You're going to say this and say that, and we're going to get him in trouble, and I'm going to leave him." So I remember um, she locked the door. My sister was there. I think my brother-in-law is there. She locked the door. He was trying to come in. She didn't let him in. And then we went to New Jersey. We was going to actually live in New Jersey. So, because every summer we were going to visit family in New Jersey, which was very nice. So we was going to live there. And I remember we had, they transferred my school records. One of my cousins from Jersey took me school shopping. Like we all planned it out that me and my mom was going to live in Jersey with our other family.
Mhm.
Right. By time the summer ended, she changed her mind and decided to go back. And I was very disappointed because I was very looking forward to starting this new life, because the people in Jersey, they were good people,
Okay.
educated, loving. And even though they were still my adopted family, they never made me feel that I was adopted. They were beautiful people. They treated me well, and they loved my mom, and they was going to really help us. But she decided to come back, and it started all over again.
Why did she
The f-
decide to go back? Like after all of the planning and after she made up her mind and watching you all fight and him turning on her. What made her go back?
Honestly, I don't know. But I do remember one time she said to me, "What do you expect me to leave my husband? I'm not doing that. Or what do you expect me to take your side over his? I'm not doing that." And I don't remember what time frame that was. Was it before or after she decided to leave? But honestly, looking back now, being a therapist, sometimes, women get brainwashed to stay in dysfunction. It's
Hmm.
like it becomes such a new normal that when you try to do something outside of that, to you, that is being dysfunctional. Wait a minute. That actually feels wrong, because what was wrong felt right for so long. I know it was like a little tongue twister, but because that felt right for so long, when she finally decided to do the right thing, that felt wrong.
Right, right,
So now I have to subconsciously go back to what is familiar.
right. Okay. So it's just like when women leave out of abusive relationships and some end up going back, but then some end up going on to new relationships that are also abusive.
Exactly, exactly. Because consciously we know this is not what we want.
Hmm.
But see, because trauma changes the chemical reactions of our brain, we begin to see the world through a trauma lens. So we become comfortable or familiar, or the new normal becomes living in that trauma. So when we try to do something different, it's like this internal fight.
Okay.
Yeah, and we go back to what's comfortable. So moving along, if I can remember correctly, my situation was really tricky when it came to sexual abuse. So I'll share this. So I finally got out of there, okay? So, but it didn't stop. It stopped with my adopted father, but it didn't stop. There had been people in my life who were much older than me, men and women, and they used my abusive situation with my adopted dad for them to abuse me, if
Okay.
that makes sense.
Hmm.
Okay. But it came differently. Okay. And this is where we get a little bit into the other young lady's story, is because these are people that I really thought was supposed to protect me. I got used to dealing with my dad. That I got used to. I was used to
Right.
that. But these people, I'm like, they love me, they care for me, they did to protect me, but they were grooming me and I didn't even realize it because they knew me since I was a kid.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
knew the situation that I was dealing with my adopted dad, and they seemed to really care.
Right.
But they only care for their own sexual interests. And then when I got a certain age, they came on to me and I went along with it because I thought it was something that Shekhina wanted.
Okay. Gotcha.
But they was old enough to be my parents and
There's
they had kids of their own.
And you know what? And there's situations, Shekhina, where, and this is another reason why I say, being watchful of our children, because I grew up around a lot of guys, and
Mhm,
a lot of my guy friends shared with me how they're their mother's best friend,
mhm,
or an aunt, it's coming to take them, pick them up, and supposed to, take them to go and hang out with their son, but in
mhm,
actuality would take them to a hotel and was doing things to them. You know what I mean? They pretty much relied on the familiarity of the person. This person cares about me. I hang out with their son, and my mom would never think that her best friend or that, even one of her siblings would ever do anything like this. You know,
mhm,
they're relying on trust. And they've had situations happen where they've been molested, and no, and then afraid to tell someone, especially things seem to be, different for men. When men
mhm.
speak
Yeah,
about,
yeah,
we tend to make fun of it. You know what I mean? It's still a serious issue.
exactly.
So I do
Exactly.
believe that we have to be um mindful of the day and time that we're living in. I'm a firm believer where the Bible says, trust no man. I believe that because
Hmm.
sometimes we can't even trust ourselves.
Yes,
You know what
yes,
I mean? Because
yes.
there's
Hmm.
things that we may say that we would never do, and then turn around and do that very same thing. So
Hmm.
I really try to push to the parents to please think about where you're sending your kids, who your children
Hmm.
are around. Just don't let them just stay over people's houses. Um, I know I've had situations where I was young, my mom's in the hospital,
Hmm.
and she sent me to stay, me and my sister, to stay at a relative's house. And I wake up in the middle of the night, and one of the girls, okay, one
Hmm.
of the girls is on top of me, groping me.
Yeah, see?
And
Exactly.
I'm
Hmm.
saying to my mom, I don't ever want to go back over there. And she's like, well, why? What's going on?
Yeah.
She was
Hmm.
never expecting anything like that to happen. This is a relative.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
So please, please
Hmm.
keep watch on your children and don't let them just go out here staying over people's houses. I don't care if it's their grandmom's house, I don't care who house it is. You have to be careful because this monster is walking around and it's lurking, and it could be
Hmm.
watching your children all the
Yep.
time that they're playing around and
Hmm.
talking in conversation, laughing with you, and side-eyeing your child.
Yep. Exactly.
Nikita, I'm gonna let
Yeah.
you finish off there.
Well, but you know what? I like what you're saying because going back to the trauma-informed cognitive behavior therapy, the approach that I really like to use to help especially children, but also adults overcome traumatic experiences is teaching kids that body autonomy,
Mhm.
is helping parents to help their kids to have the empowerment and the assertive skills to say no,
Yes.
go and tell. So we say no, you go, and then you tell.
Mhm.
Okay. And there has been case study with little girls and little boys as young as 5 and 6 where they didn't have that body autonomy. So they think just because it's somebody that I trust or just because somebody that my mom or my dad knows, it's okay for them to touch me like this. And
Right.
what happens is with little kids is because we talk about the stages of development, they don't understand that gray area. It's either right and either wrong. So teaching them to say, if somebody say, hey, can I hug you? Go ahead and hug grandma. And they say, no, I don't want to, I don't want to. And you force them to hug grandma.
Mm-hmm.
Your intentions is that you just want them to respect grandma. And if
Right.
grandma asks them to do something, you do it. But the twist with that is that in their little minds, so even if I don't want to hug grandma, I gotta do it anyway. So imagine somebody come to them and really want to do something inappropriate. Now their little minds think, well, if you're gonna touch me in my pee, then that must be okay. Because last time you told me that I have to hug grandma when I didn't
Right.
want to.
Right.
So it goes against a lot of that, teaching kids that assertiveness. But with the trauma informed therapy, the therapist helps the kid become empowered. So if anybody, grandmom, sister, brother, cousin, doesn't matter, you run, you say no, you go and you tell. And
Yeah.
then we say that over and over again. So they know if anybody hugs me, touch me, look at me, kisses me, or pat me on my butt, anything that I don't want, that I didn't ask for, okay, I can know,
Right.
and I can run, and I can tell.
Right.
And I have that body autonomy to do that. And a lot of parents are afraid to really teach their children about good touch and bad touch
Mm-hmm.
because, it gets a little tricky.
Sure.
Because if they go to the doctor, then they say, well, I don't want the doctor touching me. You told
Right.
me nobody can touch me if I don't want them to touch me. But the doctor has to touch them. So now it's explaining to them that it's not about good touch, bad touch. It's about what's appropriate in certain situations. When you go to the doctor, and if you give doctor permission to touch you certain places because you may not be feeling well, that is appropriate touch.
Right.
These are your appropriate touches. If somebody want to shake your hand, okay, we have appropriate touches versus we have inappropriate touches. So this is how we teach the parents that psychoeducation about teaching their kids how to have their body autonomy. Because if a parent cannot watch their kids 24/7, if they at school or daycare or with another parent, at least the child knows that's not how you're supposed to touch me.
Right. Absolutely.
No. And I'm going to run and I'm going to tell and
Absolutely.
do it right away.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kina,
Yeah.
well, can you tell me, because we do have to wrap up, could you
Okay.
let our audience know where they can reach out to you?
Yeah. So very simple. You can go to cheartservices.com. So that is the letter C, okay, the word heart and services, all one word, .com. And you'll see me on social media. You'll see me on the mental health platforms. If you're looking for a therapist, you can reach out to me. I'm on Growth Therapy, BetterHelp, Spring Health, and the other couple of mental health platforms. So you can just Google my name, which is Shekhina, and I'll pop right up and we can talk.
Great. You also offer a trauma group therapy, correct?
That is correct. We meet every Sunday at 4 o'clock, and it's for women who have been sexually abused, some point in their life, sexual abuse, sexual assaulted, whatever that might look like for them. And they just kind of working out the effects of how that trauma has affected them throughout their adult life.
Okay.
hmm
Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Kina, for coming back and sharing your story. We appreciate you. All right, then we're going to wrap up this episode of Naomi Spot. Family, we hope that you enjoyed this show. We hope that you have learned from the show and that you will join us again next time here at The Spot.
Change starts with us.
It starts with listening and believing survivors.
I want to grow up in a world free from fear.
But harmful norms keep too many silent.
Looking out for one another is our shared responsibility.
Speaking up isn't easy, but it's necessary.
I
want to be a part of the solution.
Consent is not optional. It's required.
Respect for others
is the foundation of every safe community.
Our future depends on what we do now.
On the field or off, we protect each other.
This is our time to make a difference.
United, we build a safer and more respectful world.
A world we all deserve.
Together we act to prevent sexual abuse, assault, and harassment. Learn more at respecttogether.org.